testimony on your bill.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, my name is Representative Katie Sullivan, that's Sullivan, out of House District 93 in the Missoula area. I bring to you today House Bill 263, a bill to, let me get this in front of me, an act requiring the reporting of electricity use for certain energy users and reporting requirements. So if we're looking at the bill, it's quite pretty short. Page 1, you'll see at the bottom, it's basically saying any data center or digital mining business operating in the state, excluding home digital, shall report to the commission and the ETIC interim committee the total megawatt hours of electricity consumed in the previous calendar year and the anticipated of the current calendar year. And so that's the body of the bill. If you're thinking why we want to do this, we are currently in the early stages of a new technological revolution. AI, Internet of Things, electric vehicles, all these things are starting to come online, and consumers are needing more energy and businesses are well. As we saw earlier, a bill has already come through doing a study on AI, and it's just these things are growing, this business is growing. And this revolution in technology will require massive changes in energy generation and demand. And data centers are becoming a #1 driver in demand and load growth across our country. And we have been told by many energy stakeholders in Montana the need for energy is increasing. Not just for homes, but also to power these new large businesses that are coming in. We have also seen a lot of legislation and support from Montana policymakers inviting the data centers to come to our state. We're trying to say, come here to Montana. We have a place for you to have your business. And these data centers are looking for large quantities of load, stable business environment, and stable policy. And so when I say data centers, this can apply to anything from artificial intelligence to cloud computing to cryptocurrency. So the term is broad to encompass all these large energy users. And one of the reasons I'm interested in this bill is the numbers we're thinking about for these data centers is really quite large. And a few weeks ago, I saw in a press release from one of our energy providers that said they have kind of signed deals maybe with two new data centers that, let's just say, the energy load is expected to be a minimum of 50 megawatts beginning in 2027 with growth to possibly 250 or more by 2029. Possibly, if you do the math on it, could be upwards of an additional 400 megawatts. So to put this in perspective, these two data centers, just these original press release numbers we're hearing, combined would need more power than the new Laurel gas plant, right? And so we're talking, this is big. So if Montana wants to be open for business for data centers, let's learn about what their needs are. Let's learn about what their future needs are. And this can help us learn and help us plan. And so this would just say, let's have the PSC and ETIC learn the numbers, and then we'll know. And this can help with load forecasting. We can learn about surges due to weather changes, due to seasonal impacts, and things like that. So that's what my bill is. Mr. Chair, I'll sit down.
Are there any opponents in the room? Any opponents in the room?
Why they got opponents first? That's weird.
Any opponents online?
No hands raised.
Are there any proponents in the room?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Dr. Annie Bukacek, last name spelled Bukacek. I'm here in person to support House Bill 263 as this bill is critical to Montana's health and welfare. What follows is my opinion and should not be construed as representative of opinions or policies of the Public Service Commission or my commissioner colleagues. I'm a commissioner from District 5. Running a passionate campaign for Public Service Commissioner 2 years ago, my biggest concern then is the same as it is now, maintaining resource adequacy to keep the lights on and heat on for my friends, neighbors, and all fellow Montanans, and at the best price possible. There's a lot of talk about power generation needed to achieve resource adequacy, not as much said about the demand portion. Representative Sullivan, in sponsoring this bill, she's discussed the data center's high demand for electricity from the grid. Last week, I provided copies of recent articles on this topic, and the same articles I have given to my PSC colleagues. A simple bill, House Bill 263, does not address the pros and cons of data centers with AI. House Bill 263, requiring AI data centers to report annual electricity use to the PSC and ETIC, is a good first step toward addressing demand concerns. If we have a proper load calculation based on collected data rather than user estimates, Montana may be able to take steps to avoid the type of power outages that affected Texas and East Coast states in recent years. Thank you for your service. Thank you very much. And for this consideration, I urge your support.
Any other proponents in the room?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'm Ann Hedges with the Montana Environmental Information Center. And this isn't so much an environmental bill as it is about resource adequacy, reliability, and affordability, and just getting some sense of what the demands are in the system. So as we've learned in the energy space, change doesn't happen slowly. Change seems to be happening very, very quickly. And I am as addicted to my phone and the quick searches as anybody else. And we are all getting increasingly addicted to that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just does come at a price. And this is just trying to have our regulators, our policymakers have an understanding of what that price is and whether there might be things that they can do down the road eventually to manage the impacts that there could be to the system. So I just want to give you some numbers. Nationally, energy growth has been flat for about 20 years. But as we know, change happens quickly. One ChatGPT search uses 10 times more energy than a Google search. And in this region, WEC, the Western Electricity Coordinating Council, their loads they expect to grow 20% by 2034. This is all largely because of data centers. The U.S. Energy Association projects growth of 9% by 2028 and 18% by 2033, an increase of 2% per year on average. And peak demand could grow by over 5% over the next 4 years. 4 years, that's not much time. 3 years ago, Pacific Northwest Utilities projected regional annual growth rates of 0.9%, similar to the decades-long trend in load growth. But last year, they projected a 10-year annual energy load growth rate of 3.1%, which is significantly higher than 0.9. Mr. Chair, with your permission, can I just hand something out?
Sure.
Thank you. What I just handed out is just a little bit of a study that just came out recently from the Lawrence Berkeley Lab on the topic of data center load and what the projections are. And in this, the backside, you're just going to see two graphs. I wanted to keep it super simple. You're going to see two graphs on what they project the load growth will be for both data centers and for crypto in the next few years. And they anticipate a projected double or triple in load by 2028. Data centers consume 4.4% of U.S. electricity in 2023 and are expected to consume 6.7 to 12% of total U.S. electricity by 2028. That is not far away. And I'm not going to read you about the terawatts, but the terawatt numbers that they project are staggering. So, what do all of the people who are studying this look for? What are they all asking for? They're asking for data. They're asking for information. So much of what we have right now is based upon projections or the best guesses of these scientists, these people who study this demand growth. And everybody knows that data centers want to connect to our grid as quickly as possible. Nothing wrong with that, but large new loads could cause significant grid upgrades, forcing utilities to make potentially risky decisions about allocating scarce capital and managing ratepayer impacts. Because they do consume so much energy, we want to make sure that we have grid reliability. And who better to help make sure that we are thinking about these things in the Public Service Commission and the Legislative Interim Committee on Energy. So planning is really critical. And when you look at when you look at our largest utility in the state, in the press release they put out last week, where they said that they would like to serve 400 megawatts additional of load in the next 4 years, that is about half again as much as they serve right now. So it is overall, right now, that our utility serves somewhere between 750 and 800 megawatts a year for its customers. That's what it provides. That's what its annual report said was 750. Its rate case said 800 megawatts. 400 megawatts is a big addition to that system. And it would be really good to know, what are these sources? How much energy are we really talking? There's a lot of things that could change, whether this is just this hype or whether this is real. And things like efficiency in the system or competition with other countries, as we saw some today. Data centers can learn. AI can help learn AI to become less energy intensive. So there's a lot of things that could decrease the projected demands that we're seeing from all of these different outlets: Department of Energy, Lawrence Berkeley Lab, Energy Association, which is a private company. There's a lot that could change, but this is just a baby step towards trying to figure out what we're looking at. What are the needs, and trying to make sure that we have policies that protect existing customers and that don't put residential customers and small businesses in the state at some kind of disadvantage. I think there's a lot of ways we could create a system down the road that uses both of these things in concert really well for each other to maintain reliability and to maintain affordability. But without any knowledge of what's going on out there in the system, it's really difficult to know what policies would work best. So that's all this bill does. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Tom Schneider, SCHNEIDER, three-term former commissioner at the PSC. I had planned to come up, thought this was a really simple bill, straightforward, just a base annual reporting requirement for electric use. And over this last week or so, with the announcement that a utility is looking to serve 250 to 400 megawatts of additional load, it just blew my mind. That is a staggering amount for a system the size of the proposer. It is something that the legislature has recognized for a long time in terms of the integrated resource planning requirements the state has to provide adequate, safe, reliable electricity for the system. The magnitude of this announcement really turns everything on its head. I mean, it is literally larger than the new plant in Laurel. It's 400 out of 700 of one of the big units in eastern Montana. This really needs the scrutiny of this legislative committee and of the commission going forward. And the underlying request, the straightforward request here, is a minimal baseline requirement. Just the energy? Heavens, what does that tell you? You need peak demand. You need megawatt hours. That's the energy component. You need it on a seasonal and daily basis. There are a lot of requirements associated with, if you were looking at a generating unit or the commission was looking at a proposed generating unit of 400 megawatts or 250 megawatts, it would be getting tremendous amount of scrutiny. What is the best way to serve that? What is the most cost-effective resource to step into that role? Here, none of that has been done. It's not even a part of the planning process. And if it is, it's all been behind closed doors with the corporation. It needs to be straight up in front of this committee and in front of the commission, so that policymakers and decision makers in Montana have a real grasp of what is at issue and how that is going to be supplied. It's not only the supply component, but it is the transmission facilities and the distribution facilities associated with making those connections and serving those really, really significant loads. I was on the commission when there were large industrial customers, the Anaconda Company and all the big players, Columbia Falls. 400 megawatts is more than most of them had. Probably more than the entire large industrial customer base of that utility now. This is a game-changing kind of number. And we're totally, we, the public, you, the commission, and the public are in the dark. So I would say this is, an absolute, I think Ms. Hedges said that baby step. It is indeed a baby step to get at least this foundation of, what's your annual energy use? You need a heck of a lot more than that. And so please pass this bill. If you need additional, if you're as concerned as I am about this announcement, then you'd be wanting to build up a whole lot more in support of this bill, because it needs a whole lot more. The integrated resource planning process in Montana has been challenged for a long time because these issues are nasty and they're complicated and there's a lot of interaction. This one is like a bomb dropping. So I would urge you to pass this bill. I appreciate Representative Sullivan advancing this bill, and I sure would urge you to adopt this as a bare minimum. Thank you very much.
Any other proponents in the room? Any proponents online?
We do have one hand raised. Gary Matson.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I am Gary Matson, spelled M-A-T-S-O-N. I comment as a Montana resident and as a student of our state's energy resources for over 50 years. I've lived in Milltown, Montana for 58 years, and we strive to be as friendly as Miles City. I'm not sure we can live up to that standard. I appreciate the service I've received first from Montana Power and now from Northwestern Energy. Electricity is essential to our daily lives. We cannot live without it. Because of its importance, we must safeguard its availability, sustainability, and affordability. Data centers and cryptocurrency mines are undergoing explosive growth in our country. Although data centers bring some benefits, their demand for electricity is so extremely high that it could compromise the energy supply that is essential to the lives of Montanans and our economy. A single data center typically consumes electricity that would power 80,000 households. HB 263 would enable an ongoing quantification of existing and anticipated energy consumption by data centers. It would be a common sense tool for recognizing levels of use that would have serious negative impacts on our Montana energy supply and our way of life. It could potentially enable recognition of a need for mitigating measures, such as data centers providing their own source of electricity generation independent of the supply shared by Montanans. Please support this bill, and I thank you for this opportunity to comment.
Do we have any further proponents online?
No hands raised.
Do we have informational witnesses in the room?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Carl Borquist, Carl with a C, Borquist, B-O-R-G-Q-U-I-S-T. I'm the president and CEO of Absaroka Energy, which is a firm developing the Gordon Butte Pump Storage Plant in Martinsdale. I came in just to listen about this bill, but I feel like I wanted to make myself available. Over the past 3 months, my firm has been contacted by 3 hyperscalers. I'm under CA, so I can't tell you who these people are, but each of them is looking for somewhere between 500 and 1,000 megawatts for data center campuses in Montana of about 400 acres.
Okay, thank you.
And these groups are well capitalized and serious about what they're doing. So I'll make myself available for questions if you have any.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
you.
Any other informational witnesses in the room? Informational witnesses online?
No hands raised.
Questions from the committee? Representative Sharp.
Mr. Chair, a question for Mr. Snyder, please.
Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Snyder, is it, with your experience with PSC, is it true that other states can make demands on Montana power generation for certain maybe strategic reasons, or other states can ask for the power that we generate and actually get a priority?
Well, in Montana, historically, they've had a big ownership of energy in Montana. They've owned the pro rata share of the cold strip transmission, of the cold strip generation. So that has gone out of state to serve those customers because they owned shares of those facilities. That may not be what you were asking about. That's my response.
Okay, Mr. Chair, if I could follow up with the sponsor. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Representative, can you restate your question after his answer? I just want to make sure
I've got a different one.
Oh, different question. Okay. Okay.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, Representative Sullivan, who is going to be obligated to make these reports? Every single organization that generates power? I'll tell you why I'm asking this, because we are looking in here at energy all the time, and there's some very innovative things popping up out there. So if a system comes in where, let's say, one of these AI or people decide to bring in their own, or are able to bring in their own portable new power generator, would that be something that the state, would they be obligated to report that to the state?
Mr. Chair, Representative, to make sure I understand you correctly, you're saying, so number one, who provides the information, and would potentially, say, an AI center came who made their own energy, would they also need to reply? Oh, gotcha. Okay. So in this bill as written, it is the data center or the business that is doing the reporting to the PSC. And then my understanding is that it is independent of who supplies or creates that power. And so under this bill as currently written, my understanding is, and I can make sure I can get legal or staff to help me make sure I understand it, is that they would also be reporting to PSC. If that's heartburn, we can say, if you're making all power that you need for your business, we don't need to hear from you. But currently, what I'm trying to do is understand the amount of power that's going to be demanded, used, or required by the power companies that also provide power to homes and the people of Montana. Does that help?
Mr. Chair, one follow-up, if I may.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Representative Sullivan, yes, that does somewhat. Are there other entities within the state that are not obligated to report their power output to the legislature?
Mr. Chair, Representative, I'm sure there are, yes, and I can't imagine, I mean, there's lots of business, I own a business, I don't have to report my energy use to anybody, all right, I just pay the bill, but, so yes, but I think the idea is that since these could be so large, that we're just trying to capture this one group that would have a large load demand.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Fiat? Excuse me, Pyan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for Mr. Schneider.
Mr. Chair, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Snyder. So it's my understanding that the data centers, the energy that they require would additionally include the need for more transmission lines to carry those loads. So my question is, how long would those additional transmission lines take to fund, to build, etc.? It just seems like we would need a more comprehensive interim study. But my question is in regards to transmission lines.
Transmission siting is a really time-intensive project. I mean, we've had a number of transmission projects in Montana that have been proposed over the years, and most of them have not been built. The big Colstrip transmission corridor is the last really major line that's been constructed. So it would take time. And the complication is that the existing transmission network, backbone network in the state, operated by one of the major companies in Montana, is loaded. And it's loaded with electricity primarily from the existing Colstrip facilities. And that has been a barrier, for example, to the export or import of electricity from the outside, from the Pacific Northwest, for example. So really, that kind of big league stuff needs to go through a process like the integrated resource planning process that the Montana legislature established, so that all dimensions of the supply and demand and associated transmission and reliability, all of those things are looked at simultaneously in a comprehensive way. And they're really challenging kinds of cases. But to get from here to 400 megawatts of service, when, they've been concerned about their ability to supply the existing customers of the system. So I have a lot of anxiety about the announcement and the time frame for transmission, distribution, to connect those facilities. So all the questions that I would have not been answered. And this is just an outline of kind of my initial reaction.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further questions? Representative Millette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the sponsor.
Mr. Chair, Representative.
Mr. Chair, Representative Sullivan, I'm not going to ask any technical questions. I'll just say I like this bill. We do need this. My engineering mind just gets the better at me. If you look on page 1, line 28, where it says digital mining business, may I suggest, or do Do you think that the word asset is missing from that? Because if you look at up above on 2B and 2C, it says digital asset mining, and it also says digital asset mining business. Shouldn't that have asset in there just to line up perfectly?
Mr. Chair, Representative, thank you. Yes, so these, as you pointed out, it looks like there might be a word missing, and we can confirm that with drafter and make sure we're all in the up and up. And the defined terms that we see here are in current code, and so these are previous law that we put into place, and then we're just fitting it in here. So we want to make sure these terms fit just right and are exactly what we're looking for, and I want this to fit in smoothly into our current law. So yes and yes.
One follow-up? Actually, it's going to be two follow-ups, but the first one.
Oh, sure.
Mr. Chair, Representative Sullivan, if you look on page 2, line 4, line 3 says the total megawatt hours of electricity, and line 4 says the anticipated megawatt hours of electricity. Do you think the word total should be in there also?
Mr. Chair, Representative, seems that could be the case.
Last follow-up.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Representative Sullivan, I'm just curious, how did you come up with the date March 1st? Could it have been February 1st? I suspect that it's to give the businesses time to do their books and do their calculations to see how much energy that they're going to need, and the reporting requirement would be March 1st. Is that the reason?
Mr. Chair, Representative, that's a thoughtful question, and that was a drafter recommendation, and so I don't have from me, oh, I need it by X date. And so if they're in the infinite wisdom of this committee was a date that felt better, I just want the information when convenient. And there's no, not Jan 1, that seems a little that's pushing it.
Representative Millett, there's somebody in the room that might be able to shed some light on that, and they're really hopping up and down wanting to come up. So would you like to have them answer that for you?
Mr. Chair.
That guy,
Mr.
right?
Chair and Representative Millett, that's because I talked to somebody, a staffer over at the Public Service Commission. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I wanted to know what time frame reporting generally occurs in, and that was a really traditional time frame for them. So that's why we landed on March 1st.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Brewster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the sponsor.
Mr. Chair, Representative.
Good sponsor. On page 1, when you talk about rates not being punitive, those kind of things, if a utility built a series of, or developed a series of resources, particularly directed for this industry, so would you want the rate structure based on the cost of those things that were developed specifically for them, or would you spread it over all the customers of the utility?
Mr. Chair, Representative, I am not trying to not answer your question, but I feel in this bill I want to make it very specific to just this reporting requirement and not have commentary on future rate structures and costs for consumers on energy. I'm sorry, but I don't have an opinion on that today for you.
Actually, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
I have one follow-up, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Again, for the sponsor.
Sure.
When you look at the second page 2 and lines A and B, and you want those things, shouldn't that be available already in the resource planning documents that the utilities provide to the?
Mr. Chair, Representative, I feel like I would love to hear from some of our PSC members that have served, if that's okay to maybe provide commentary on that. From conversation and drafting, that wasn't given to me as oh, we already have this, so we don't need this bill. But would you mind hearing from the other PSC folks?
Sure, if you want to redirect, that'd be great.
Anybody? Yeah?
Anybody help?
It's not currently required, so this bill is needed.
Sorry.
That's right. Any further questions? Representative Carter.
For Dr. Hedges, Dr. Buttigieg. Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, Dr. Buttigieg, this seems really narrowly tailored to the tech sector. Do you receive any reports from any other high usage sectors in the state? And if so, what do you do with those reports, and how do you take that into consideration?
We get gas tracking reports from our staff, and we take it into consideration when those types of bills come up. So they're usually specific to a particular item that comes before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? I have a couple.
Mr. Chair.
So, Representative Sullivan, one of the things that strikes me is we've taken anybody, I would say first off, do you use a megawatt of power at your house?
Mr. Chair, I don't believe so.
Do you think anybody in our area uses a megawatt of power at their house?
I don't, Mr. Chair, I don't believe so.
Okay, that was lead-in. Okay, so based on that, if we're going to eliminate somebody that utilizes a megawatt of power, what is to stop a mining entity from getting 400 individual megawatt of powers individuals to go ahead and mine and conglomerate their mining?
Mr. Chair, that's an excellent question. I don't have an answer. And if that's concerning, maybe we should tighten our definitions in this bill.
I'm just looking for information.
Yeah, I don't have an answer, except that would seem scandalous. I wouldn't like it.
That's a good answer.
Oh yeah, Mr. Chair, the current definitions again are all existing law that I fit this into. So if we need to make any adjustments for this to be best reported, I would invite all suggestions from this committee.
Yeah, it just seems to me we're trying to get a handle on information.
Yeah.
And if we eliminate people that are able to do that, we may be missing a pretty good chunk. And then to Mr. Snyder's issue, if we had 400 of them, that'd be pretty alarming. So, all right, second question would be for Dr. Buttigieg.
Mr. Chairman?
So, Dr. Buttigieg, if we end up with a data center coming in, okay, and they want to come here, or they're giving us some kind of indication, and the current utility says we need to overbuild by 500 megawatts, how likely is that going to be approved with the Public Service Commission as an overbuild of what our current projections would be?
The building is part of the IRP process, and that's not looked at every year. That's not approved every year. So I'm not sure how that would work in, because that doesn't come up for a while. The last one was last year. So that's it.
And just as a statement, the thing that concerns me about that is just like Mrs. Hedges put out, you know, this stuff is going fast. This is rapid. And, you know, we're in a position in our state where if we want to encourage growth and we want to encourage development, not being in a position where we have overcapacity puts us at a disadvantage when these people come in, because they go, have you got 500 megawatts? And you say, no. They say, okay, we'll go talk to another state.
Yeah, bye, bitch.
Okay, so it's more complicated than just this issue. So anyway, thank you very much.
Must be done responsibly, that's correct.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Representative Fielder.
Mr. Chair, clarification for Dr. Buttigieg, please. Dr. Buttigieg, Mr. Chair, Dr. Buttigieg, are you testifying today on behalf of the Public Service Commission or as an individual?
I stated as an individual.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I don't know what that was about.
I didn't want to put her in that position either. Okay. Are there any further questions from the committee? Sponsor, would you care to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I always like a hearing, and people help me figure out how my bill can be better, what I can do. So thank you. This is not a bill that is for or against a data center. This is without commentary on what these groups are. This is just looking for information. It doesn't tell anybody, energy company, what to do or not do with their power. But I think that if we, as a committee, think this is helpful, we can get this right so that we can start learning more about what's coming to Montana. Obviously, from what we learned today from our informational witness, which was news to me, is that businesses are interested in us and they want to come here, and there's some big power asks, and I would love for us to know, as the group in the legislature that handles energy, and for the PSC to know, and then we can plan from there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This concludes the hearing on House Bill 263. For those in the room, also, if you want to